could sit here and I could be like, the dating world sucks and men are horrible and chivalry is dead. The manosphere is at its peak.
What would you change about men?
I made a lot of mistakes along the way. I'd really like to remind people that they have more power than they think.
So right now I'm here with
Rebecca.
What were you up to when I stopped you? What were you doing?
I took myself on a walk. I felt like going to St. Paul's. And then I walked down the South Bank and read my book for ages.
Okay, so this is really interesting because usually when I stop people, I just ask them the questions right away. But you seem chill. You seem like you can sit and actually chat. So let's see where this goes. How's your year going so far?
My year's going really well, thank you. Yeah, it's really good. I think this is the first time in a really long time that I've actually felt like I'm where I'm supposed to be. It's taken a while to get to that point. It's kind of like my hard work is starting to pay off and I'm not where I want to be, but where I'm at in the journey is really good and it's nice to see things take shape.
Do you have any advice to someone else who isn't in a good place right now and they're trying to be?
I think you have to be really honest and that's hard. You have to be willing to see things about yourself that you might be blind to. Oftentimes the things that are holding you back are beliefs, and I think you have to be really honest and be like, what am I doing that plays into this? And a lot of times that's hidden because you act out of emotion.
What is it that you've been working on that has suddenly started to work out?
Well, it sounds really deep, but I feel like I was born into circumstances that I needed to learn tough lessons early to kind of work my way out of them, and then I'd feel immense satisfaction when I'm older. I have a family that love me, but it didn't necessarily facilitate my growth and allow me to be who I needed to be. So I went through a lot of journeys where I had to kind of move away from where I come from and stop speaking to certain people, and that's never something that anybody wants to do. But you know, with that you kind of do so much soul growth within yourself that you have to then be like, okay, I can't keep putting myself back in situations that brings out this old version of me that I don't like very much. So I've kind of lived a series of tough lessons up until this point, and I worked really hard on my degree and my career, and now I finally feel like, even though I'm not where I want to be, everything's taken shape and every relationship I have in my life is healthy and I'm fulfilled. And when I go to sleep at night and I look around me, I'm really satisfied with the fact that everything I've got, I've done myself. Everything I own, every friend I have, I wasn't given any of it. It's all come into fruition because of the work I've done, and that's really satisfying. I work at a national newspaper. I'm really satisfied with the way that I've worked myself up into this newsroom that gives me a lot of leverage. And I still write on the side. I have a substack, and anything meaningful I learn about life or any stories that I really feel inspired to write, I put on there, so I still have that creative freedom.
I think that's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to go to sleep at night and think, I've done something and I like the flow of my life right now. What do you think of the way dating is going these days?
I think it's such an individual experience, and I was incredibly lucky, but I also had a strategy. So I was in a long-term relationship for 5 years. We lived together. We were actually engaged very briefly. And it just wasn't working for either of us anymore. So we split. And I was single, and I was really scared to date again because I hated it in the first instance. When I was single last, I was like 20 years old, and I had really bad experiences, and it was like a hellscape. But then this time, I gained so much knowledge from being in that 5-year relationship, and I was a different person. So I was like, okay, I could sit here and I could be like, the dating world sucks, and men are horrible, and chivalry is dead, and like the manosphere is at its peak, and like I could say all those things, but I was like, ultimately that's going to keep me chained to a relationship that wasn't serving me. So I was like, the best thing I can do is just delude myself and like run all these narratives about like the dating scene is good, men are good, and like finding examples in people of like, this is why men are good. I'm blessed, I have really good male friends, and my friends are with really good long-term partners, so I would see them and I would see the way that they would show up and support their loved one, and I would be like, well, if they have it, why can't I? So every time I felt that limiting belief, I would like write out in a journal and I would counter argue it. And then I was staying with my friend. It was quite a messy breakup actually, as you can imagine, but I was single for a few months, and I was staying in my friend's spare room because she was so hospitable. She came to my rescue, she put me up, and we were talking one day, and I was just like, I'm gonna make a Hinge account. So we did that, and I met so many wonderful men on there, by the way. Like, the men I met were really nice, and I felt immense pride that I had picked these men. But then I came across a profile that audibly made me laugh. It was like the most ridiculous profile I'd seen, and I messaged him, and he responded, and we spoke for like 3 weeks, I think like a month before we went on a date, because I wanted to be stable in my flat and, you know, okay on my own terms before we went on a date. And he was really patient, and we went on a date and we dated for like a month, and then I had a boyfriend again. So it was a wonderful experience for me. But that's not to say that like if I one day found myself single again, which I wouldn't want to, I might have a worse time. I don't know. I don't want to be too arrogant about it.
What would you change about men, or what do you think men needs to do differently as far as dating is concerned?
Well, I'm not a man, so I don't want to seem as though I know what I don't, but just based off what I see, care about each other more. I have so many male friends who don't even know each other's birthday. They don't check in on each other. They don't talk about anything beyond surface level. They're so afraid of being seen in a vulnerable light. And it's such a shame because, you know, there's this loneliness epidemic, but like there's not much that women can do about that because this is a predominantly male problem. So I think just being more transparent and putting yourself out there, I really just want men to feel like they don't have to be so afraid and they don't have to be so in charge. They can work with women, but they need to work on themselves first, you know?
Playing devil's advocate this time. The logic is women don't actually want men to be emotional, to be vulnerable. Like the archetype is this cool, aloof alpha guy. He has no worries. That's who the girls want. Not some guy who's like, hey, you know, Rebecca, work was hard and my boss, he dominates me and I just can't feel confident at work. And, you know, what do you say to that? Like, is that true? Is there an element of truth to it? Is there a limit of what men can share? Or no, we should just be more vulnerable, be more emotional? What do you think?
I say that may be true for some percent of women. I'm not going to sit here and lie because there are. I've met women who I really don't align with on a lot of things in that thing. I think there are women who dehumanize men just as much as men are dehumanizing women. The femisphere, if that's what you want to call it, is also on the rise. You know, you've got these female YouTubers that are like, they're not good for anything, use them for their money, la la la. I don't know if that's an answer. It's like chicken or egg. I don't know if that came first or what. But what I will say is, who is telling you that besides these other, because if these women are telling you that, go and look for a different kind of woman, go and look for a different side of that argument to see what you, but then also if this is coming from like the manosphere influences, why are they saying that? I mean, like, I think the manosphere ultimately, like the people who lead it, I don't even want to address them, like they're power hungry, but the boys who are like going for it, ultimately they're just young boys who are really lost and upset, who are trying to protect themselves. So they run this narrative, women are trash, women are good for one thing, like whatever they say that because they want to protect themselves. Well, find the part that you feel needs protecting and address that, rather than just making these sweeping statements that are just going to make your life worse. I just feel like, yes, it is really easy to run these narratives, but there's like 7 billion people on this planet, and it's a world of such immense duality. And like, you get on a plane for 2 hours and you see a completely different side to life. It's a completely different possibility. So like, it's worth being curious and just seeing like what alternative paths there are out there. And I feel like that can really work to your benefit in any area of life, really. What's the benefit in them running that narrative? How are they going to make money off that? You know, if ever there's a seed of insecurity or like expectation being planted on someone at such a scale, it's to benefit from it. So
that is really insightful. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so let's flip it around. What do women need to do differently?
I do find this one harder to answer. There's this illusion of self-care that is really big at the moment, and it's like, face pack, protect your peace, cut everyone off, like it's kind of influencer brand self-care. But when I'm talking about self-care, I mean like women get damaged in a lot of ways, and they are getting damaged a lot by the manosphere and generational expectations that have been put on them to kind of like heal men and like be the forefront of that. I feel like women need to take care of themselves in that they need to take responsibility. If they're in a relationship that is bad for them, they need to have the power and strength to work on themselves, love themselves in the face of adversity, to the point where they can leave. It's hard for a woman to leave. It really can be hard. But I feel like women need to love themselves out of being put in these vulnerable situations, because that, in my opinion, is fueling the manosphere. Yeah. Like being victimized and not loving yourself enough to counter argue that, you know?
Now, not to burst the bubble of positivity and everything working out, but if you could change one thing in your life, what would you change? What's the worst thing about your life right now still?
Oh wow, what a question. I think maybe the thing that I would like to change the most is the stuff that's still unresolved in me. Everybody's always a work in progress, and everybody always has things about themselves that they would like to work through. So I think the way that I feel stifled in some parts of my life, and the way that I still live with a discomforting kind of anger and sometimes sadness, I'd like to change that. I'd like to really make peace with everything.
Okay, so on the flip side, imagine 5 years from now, everything's perfect, your life is exactly how you want it to be. What would that look like?
I would like to have children. I'd like to have a really happy family, and I would like to give them stability and calmness. And I want to have a loving partner who is just a really safe, like, sanctuary of a relationship. And I want to have a happy home that is secure and I own it and no one can take it away from me. And I'd like it to have a garden and enough space. And I'd like to be able to reach those career goals that we spoke about, comfortably have money enough to provide for me and my family, and travel and go on holidays, but also to give to other people freely. If I see them struggling, if I see that they need a bit of economic help in order to, you know, self-reflect and heal, because a lot of people can't heal unless they have that base level of security. I would like to be able to give that to other people too, and just feel like I'm making a positive impact on the world. And I want to travel a lot too.
That's beautiful. I like how you have the details, everything down, the family, the characters in the story, the place. Speaking of the world, what would you change in the world right now? What do you think needs to change?
I'd really like to remind people that they have more power than they think, because we see a lot of oppression on a lot of different scales, and people in power pull strings that a lot of regular people don't even know they're pulling, to make people hate each other, to divide people, to subtly benefit the people in power. And it's done through scarcity, like creating poverty. I would change that by reminding the people what they can do, remind them that community can go so far and it can do really wonderful things. Remind people who have excess that the most satisfaction they can get is through helping other people out. So if you have enough and your cup overflows, you don't need to hang on to it, because there's a lot of satisfaction that comes from putting that back into the community.
Final question is just anything you would like to share to yourself 5 years ago. What would you say?
Keep doing what you're doing, because yes, I made a lot of mistakes along the way. Yes, I wasn't always the best version of myself. I'm not proud of everything that I did, but ultimately what I did led me here, and I think it was all necessary.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for everything you shared with a random stranger just coming up to you. I appreciate it. It was fun for me, and it was insightful for me as well. I actually learned something very, very useful, so I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
That's all right. Thank you for the chat.